I'm Haley Taylor, and you're listening to the Rough Draft Diaries. We're going to hit the ground running as we start this episode of the Rough Draft Diaries because we've got a lot of ground to cover. Montana Miller joins us in the studio today. She's probably best known locally as a Bowling Green State University professor in the Department of Pop Culture, but we're going to talk about something totally different. And to start that, we have to go back to the beginning with her childhood in Massachusetts.
As a teenager, I decided I wanted to be the best flying trapeze artist in the world, and when I was 17, I left Massachusetts for Europe to become a flying trapeze artist and spent most of my circus career doing flying trapeze in France with a French troupe that eventually became very famous. But my parents in Massachusetts were newspaper editors, so I wasn't coming from that kind of background at all. But as things developed sort of unpredictably, I ended up going to graduate school mainly so that I could live in LA for 7 years and have health insurance. I ended up coming very heavily into diving, especially platform diving.
Okay, we're going to pause. I know it sounds like a lot, but all you really need to know is that Montana went to France to study acrobatics, went to California to not only get her degree in folklore, but also to get insurance because she was platform diving at the time. That's diving from a 30-foot high platform, and that's where she discovered skydiving.
I had always thought that skydiving would be boring, I did not think it involved any acrobatic or artistic element, so I thought, what's the point of just falling out of a plane? That doesn't interest me at all, plus it's very expensive. However, the moment that I left the plane with the tandem instructor, I suddenly understood that the force of the relative wind against your body when you're skydiving does allow you to move any way that you want and to do all of these artistic and athletic things that I never really imagined could be true about skydiving. So before I landed on the ground from that first skydive, I had already decided that my new career goal was to become a tandem instructor.
Not only did Montana become a tandem instructor, but she also created a team of her own. See, there are different kinds of diving. There's formation, which is where you dive out of a plane with a group of people and you create formations with your body as you fall. Montana created the only all-female team that is currently competing in the world. There's free flying, there's wingsuit diving, and there's canopy formations. There's also speed, which is Montana's newest obsession.
Speed is purely about what vertical speed you can attain by making yourself as aerodynamic as possible and getting that perfect dive angle and pulling in your body just so that you can shoot downwards as fast as you can.
It sounds crazy, and it kind of is. Speed is a fairly new form of skydiving. It's pretty popular in Europe, not so much in the States just yet. So that's where Montana does most of her competing, in Europe.
My ultimate goal right now is to make the U.S. team for next year's World Championships, which will be in Siberia. So the World Cup is part of that trajectory to get there. The World Cup in England, I'm part of a 2-person U.S. team that, I may have a chance of getting on the podium. I don't know. A month after the World Cup is U.S. Nationals, and that's where I have a chance to qualify for the World Championships in Siberia next year.
The World Cup, the competition Montana's competing in England, that one's coming up in just about a week. And she's being modest. She's the first female to ever compete on an American team in speed skydiving. But with all the excitement of competing, there is one downside, and that is the sport is pretty dangerous, which means it's hard for others to share in her excitement.
Yes, especially the ones that are closest to me in my life. I actually cannot talk to my mom at all about this whole speed thing because she immediately is on the verge of tears. And it's tough because, my other sisters, I have a sister who's a doctor and a sister who's a teacher, and they both have a bunch of babies, and the youngest one is pregnant again, and my mom constantly wants to talk about her, but, what's going on in my life? Like, this is my baby. This is my quest to become the fastest woman in the world. And speed is the fastest non-motorized sport that exists on Earth. And I'm actually diving faster than the peregrine falcon dives when it dives down to snap up its pigeon and go feed its chicks.
Montana, throughout our interview, often compared the art of diving to birds and flight, which may sound like an obvious comparison, but for Montana, it's something more serious than just pretending you're a bird as you're falling. Instead, she believes deep down inside that she was meant to be a bird.
It's actually been the theme of my life. I've never wanted to be human. In fact, I almost feel as though I have, you could call it species dysmorphia, where my earliest memories are of a sickening realization that I was stuck in the wrong body and trying to break out of it. And what's kind of exciting about discovering speed is that it's a very pure feeling of the relationship of my animal body with the natural world. And instead of all the rules and all these formations, like all these structures that have been put in place by humans for all the other aspects of skydiving, speed is only about plunging down like you're a bird about to get your fish in the water. It's not about any other kind of, oh, is my whole team here? Is my video guy here? Are the judges going to see that I got the right point? It's only about how fast can I go down, and that feels very purely animalistic to me, and I think that's why I'm getting addicted to it.
I'm Haley Taylor, and thanks for listening to this episode of the Rough Draft Diaries.